back to another episode of Susan LoPresti Wellness, Mind, Body, and Soul. This is the podcast where we explore the highs, the lows, and everything in between when it comes to a woman's life, her health, and all aspects of navigating the midlife landscape. I'm your host, Susan LoPresti, and today's guest is Arthur Menard. Arthur is a Forbes 30 Under 30 entrepreneur. He's a TEDx speaker and the founder of HAVN the world's first EMF blocking apparel designed for daily wear. Trusted by doctors, elite athletes, and the U.S. Air Force, Havenwear patented wave stopper fabric blocks 99.7% of radiation from everyday tech, helping to reduce risks that are tied to fertility, hormones, and cognitive health. Since its launch, Havenwear has sold over 250,000 products to more than 70,000 customers worldwide. Arthur holds an MS in biology and engineering from Agro Paris Tech and an MBA from HEC Paris. His mission is to help people live longer, feel better, and to thrive in a connected world. And without further ado, Arthur, welcome to my podcast. I am so excited for this very powerful and informative conversation.
Hi, Susan.
Hi, Arthur. How are you?
Susan, I'm super happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
You're very welcome. I'm excited for this conversation. And I want to get into EMFs. I know they're all around us. I know we're inundated everywhere we go. Even when we're sleeping at night, I know I have a modem in my bedroom, and I know that that's really bad for our health. But why should we be concerned about EMFs?
Yeah.
Exactly what are they doing to us, and how do they impact our sleep, stress, energy, all of that, long-term health?
Well, let's start with what EMF stands for. EMF stands for electromagnetic frequencies, and they are radiation that are being used by our devices to communicate with one another, to communicate with the internet, and to get cell phone signal. Over the last 20 years, there's been about 2,200 scientific studies that have shown that EMF exposure can increase the risk of long-term diseases such as cancer, cardiovascular disease, and neurological disorders, and as well as having negative short-term effects on fertility, especially male fertility, as well as brain fog, sleep, and anxiety. This is something that is being more and more studied. We don't know the extent of which the problem is with the current level of exposure that we're facing, given the fact that our exposure to electromagnetic frequencies have increased exponentially over the last few years with the rise of first cell phones, then connected devices, wearables, and now more recently connected homes, connected cities, etc. I'm happy to get into the science behind it as well. But that is, in a nutshell, why people should be careful today, because the World Health Organization has categorized EMF as a class 2B human carcinogen, which is the same categorization as car exhaust fumes.
Okay, so besides your clothing line, which protects us from it, besides that, what else can we do to minimize the risk of it? As far as in our home, we're all connected, right? We all have laptops and computers and cell phones. Is there anything that we could do in our home to minimize the effects of it?
Yeah, so the first thing to know is that our exposure is inversely proportional to the distance that from which the device that is emitting the radiation is.
Uh-huh.
So the first thing you can do is when you get home, take your cell phone away from your body. Take it from your pocket, put it on the table, ideally a table that is further away from you. The second thing is you can place your router, your modem, your internet box, your Wi-Fi box away from an area where you're spending a lot of time. So don't put it right next to your bed. Don't put it right next to your couch. Wherever else you might be spending time, put it away from here, ideally. The third thing, talking about the Wi-Fi, a lot of modems today can be programmed to be turned off during certain hours. So turn it off at night when you're not going to be using it. Say from midnight to 5 a.m., for instance. If everyone's sleeping, no one needs Wi-Fi at home. If your box does not do that, you can buy a programmatic plug that allows you to do that on Amazon for a few bucks, and you'll be able to automatically shut it off. Worst case scenario, just unplug that thing and replug it in the morning. That works just as well. These are already a couple of steps that you can do that will drastically reduce your exposure. I also, the last one that I see people do often is sleep with their cell phone on their nightstand, or even worse, under their pillow.
Oh my goodness.
Don't do that. You can put your cell phone on airplane mode. Airplane mode effectively stops your cell phone's connectivity, and make sure that it stops the Bluetooth and the Wi-Fi as well. In some models, when you put on airplane mode, it only stops the connection to the cell tower. So make sure that your cell phone's on airplane mode, your Wi-Fi is off, your Bluetooth's off, but then your cell phone's not emitting any radiation. So you can sleep with your cell phone next to you if you turn it off or you put it on airplane mode at night. Otherwise, if you're worried about not being able to get calls, then no worries. Just put it away from the nightstand, away from from your head, ideally on loud in another room so that you can hear it, but it's further away from you when you're sleeping, which is 8 hours of your day. So 25% to a third of our time is spent sleeping. If you're reducing your exposure there, you're already going to reduce your exposure quite a bit for
Yeah, those
most
are
of your
good
life.
suggestions. They really are. What is the link between EMFs and the mitochondrial dysfunction?
Yeah. All right, let's get a little scientific here. I'm
Okay.
loving this. So the reason I mentioned a lot of effects from EMF earlier during the podcast. And one of the things that skeptics are saying usually is like, okay, well, it's kind of doing everything, right? Like it increases your risk of cancer, but it also has an impact on sleep and it also has brain fog. Like, why is there such a wide breadth of impact from EMF? The most widely accepted theory based on the existing science today is that EMF have are electromagnetic frequencies. They have an electric field and a magnetic field. Some of our cells' messaging function are activated by electric signals. And if you take voltage-gated calcium channels, for instance, they're used as a big messenger in our cells' membranes in order to change signals with other cells. The theory that is most widely accepted today is that EMF can trigger the activation of those channels, meaning that it leads to an influx of calcium ion in the cell, where it shouldn't happen, which then leads to a cascade of reaction in the mitochondria, and that cascade of reaction leads to the production of free radicals. And for those who don't know, free radicals are essentially the reason why we hear that eating antioxidants is really good, because when you have an imbalance between free radicals and antioxidants, you're entering a state called oxidative stress, which then is damaging to the cells, to DNA, and then ultimately to the tissue and the organs as well. And oxidative stress today is at the root cause of a lot of chronic diseases. It's at the root cause of cancer, a lot of neurological disorders, and can impact our body's natural ability to function. And so that is the reason why you're seeing such a wide breadth of effects. It all starts with your cell's membrane and activation of electric gates, if you will, by the EMF radiation. Again, there are multiple major theories, but based on the current research, this is the most widely accepted by scientists.
So we don't just have to worry about the foods that we're eating. We also have to worry about the environment that we're in that can also create this aging process.
Yeah, and EMF are far from being the only culprit when it comes to oxidative stress.
Yeah.
Pollution is another major factor, which you can't see. You can smell it a little more, but very similar to EMF. They're an environmental pollutant, and as much as possible, we should reduce our exposure to it. Poor sleep, lack of exercise, poor nutrition, all of this contributes to creating oxidative stress. And so ultimately, that is why a good health is not just one thing. There are multiple factors that play a role, but generally sleeping well, exercising, eating well, and trying to reduce our exposure to environmental pollutants are kind of like the big pillar to a solid health, and mostly because of oxidative stress that we mentioned previously.
Right. So wearable tech, and I know I have an Apple Watch, right? And a couple of months back, I was feeling very anxious out of nowhere. I'm not usually an anxious person, and someone recommended that I take off my Apple Watch and start wearing a regular watch for a couple of weeks and see if it makes an improvement. And I don't know if it was in my head or not, but I did start to feel better. So, wearable tech could also be undermining our health in some way, would you say?
Yeah, so all of the devices that you're wearing on your body that are communicating either with your phone or with the internet are emitting those radiation. So some are built better than others. An Apple Watch is emitting almost as much radiation as an iPhone. So it is definitely on the higher side. If you take an Oura Ring, for instance, they built the device in order to minimize the amount of radiation it emits because they know it's a sleep wearable. And so it's going to emit very little EMF. Some devices can be put on airplane mode. I'm currently wearing an Apple Watch that is on airplane mode, and I'll only take off the airplane mode when the watch is not on my wrist and I'm done with my workout. Headed to the gym afterwards, and others cannot. And then to each their own. Generally, my recommendation to people when they ask is to select a device that is either as minimal radiation or can be put on airplane mode, and to consider what use the device is for. What is for sure is I would highly recommend not sleeping with an active Apple Watch, given the amount of EMF that it emits, or again, to put it on airplane mode during your sleep, especially if you're sleeping with your hand up and close to your brain.
Oh, right. Good suggestion. Well, I never sleep with it. But the Aura Ring, isn't that supposed to also track your sleep?
Mhm.
So, do you recommend that or not?
Well, like I mentioned, Aura has done a phenomenal job, and I'm not affiliated with the company. I just had the pleasure to speak with two of their CEOs actually, and throughout the history or throughout my conversations with their different CEOs, what I've learned is that yeah, they pay really special attention to the amount of EMF that the Aura rings are emitting, because they know that it's a sleep device and because of all the scientific research that exists around the link between EMF and sleep quality being degraded.
Mm-hmm.
So Aura is very, very low levels of EMF in order to communicate during the night. And you can put the ring on airplane mode. So you can sleep with it on airplane mode, put it on the stand in the morning, it reactivates the Bluetooth, and this is when it can transmit your sleep data to your phone. So again, that would be my recommendation, and that is what I do personally with my Aura ring.
Right. So now your clothing line, what's the story behind that?
Yeah. Well, the story starts with my background. I grew up with two of my grandparents battling cancer for all of my life, and that led to a strong passion for health that culminated to a master's degree in biology. My very first job out of college was studying the genomic patterns of prostate cancer, which incidentally was my grandpa's first cancer. Through this job, I got exposed to the research on the link between EMF and cancer, and I went down the rabbit hole. Realized that we were very much in a situation that was similar to tobacco in the 1950s, where we have enough evidence today to know that there is an adverse biological effect to EMF exposure, that it contributes to increased risks of cancer, neurological disorders, cardiovascular disorders, essentially to not increases our longevity,
Mhm.
and that we were going towards a world of more and more exposure and not less. And even if you wanted to not live with a cell phone and not have Wi-Fi at home, if you're living in a city, you're still exposed to all the ambient radiation that is from your neighbors, from nearby offices, from cell phone towers, from just about everything.
Mhm.
In this office that I'm standing in, we have 34 Wi-Fi signals that we're able to get. And so with that being said, I love technology. I'm a millennial. I grew up with it, and I do not want to give up my cell phone either. And
Right.
so realized that as the word about EMF would start getting out, people would have a rightful need to seek protection. And as we mentioned before, you cannot block EMF. EMF are being used by your devices to communicate with internet with one another. And so we can't block the EMF from the device without stopping its connectivity. So if we were blocking EMF at a cell phone level, your cell phone would not receive any calls, it would not receive any text, and it would not be connected to the internet. So the only thing we can really do is protecting our own body against radiation. And so that's what we set out to do. There is a physical principle called electromagnetic shielding, also known as a Faraday cage, which is being used in it's being used in many things. One of them are spacesuits, and that was our original inspiration. You have a lot of radiation when you're going up in space, cosmic radiation, and spacesuits are built with an electromagnetic shielding layer. And we took inspiration from that layer and built it into a fabric wave stopper that blocks 99.7% of EMF while retaining a soft factor and being comfortable and being able to turn it into everyday clothing. And then we take wave stopper and we turn it into the world's first EMF blocking clothing that is built for everyday life, not a spacesuit. And so we started with underwear, expanded to hats, t-shirts, etc. And essentially all of our product lines are built to protect your essential organs and those that have been studied to be most impacted by the impact of EMF.
What are the organs mostly impacted by it?
So again, if we go by the voltage-gated calcium channels theory, any organs that have a high density of those voltage-gated channels are going to be the organs that are most likely to be impacted by EMF. And incidentally, they're also the ones where the studies have shown the most impact. And so you've got the brain. We've talked about neurological disorders. We've talked about cancer. A lot of these cancers were glioma, which are brain tumors. We've talked about the impact on sleep, etc. Genitals, and again, fertility, male fertility in particular, has been highly studied. And today there is no doubt that EMF have a negative effect on sperm count and sperm quality. And we actually have a number of what we call HAVN babies, people who were not able to get pregnant and then started wearing our products, and 6 months later or 8 months later or 9 months later were able to get pregnant. And we love those stories. The heart, the gut, and the thyroid are all organs that are believed to be particularly susceptible to EMF exposure.
Do you think that EMF exposure is playing a role in the increase in dementia and Alzheimer's disease? Because I know it's on the rise. It's almost an epidemic at this point. Do you see
Yeah,
a correlation between the two?
again, the studies are really nascent, but as I mentioned before, there are some studies that seem to indicate that it does play a role into it. If anything, as we mentioned, oxidative stress is often a factor in exacerbating chronic diseases symptoms.
Yeah.
So people with certain chronic conditions will often report that they're finding relief in some of their symptoms when they reduce their EMF exposure or they start wearing our product. And again, that's because if you think about it, when your body is fighting a disease, oxidative stress, and has to deal with oxidative stress on top of it, it's just going to be less effective in its fight against whatever you're facing. And generally, you're going to chronic diseases are associated with with a state of oxidative stress. And so hard to tell exactly how much correlation there is between Alzheimer and EMF exposure, but there are definitely studies that seem to indicate that there might be a link between the two.
Yeah.
And again, when I'm saying this, I realize that I'm not giving you a straight answer, and the reason is because we don't have straight answers on most of these things. Just like we don't know exactly what is the impact of today's pollution living in Los Angeles
Right.
on our long-term health. We just know it's not good, but no one can give you an exact percentage of how much life are you losing on that, or like, and that's very similar to EMF today, because with every environmental factors, it's extremely hard to decouple that one factor and to measure only the impact of the one factor. But again, from a molecular perspective, we know it has an impact.
Right. Well, I'm just thinking because with a cell phone, if you're always talking on your cell phone and you have it up against your head, or even earbuds, I would imagine, like the wireless earbuds,
Yep.
same thing. And you see young kids, they have their earbuds in constantly all day long, and you just, intuitively feel like that just can't be healthy to be so. It's really interesting. And it's quite scary because, like you said, they're all around us and it's hard to avoid being exposed to it.
Yeah, and that's exactly why we ended up creating HAVN, is because we're going towards a world of more exposure. It's inevitable. It's This is another topic, but it's even a matter of national security to continue developing those technologies, because that means not falling behind technologically. And so we're never going to see, or like in the next few years, we're going to continue seeing an increase of exposure. But this exposure is mostly good, right? Like we're getting a better lifestyle thanks to technology for the most part. It just has that unfortunate, inconvenient truth associated to it, which is that EMF can have an adverse effect on our long-term health. And so we built HAVN because we know that people don't want to get rid of technology for the most part. And that if we're telling you, well, your cell phone can be contributing to increased risks of cancer in the long term, people are going to be like, all right, I'm going to keep my cell phone because I use that thing many hours a day. So we built HAVN to be a solution that has virtually no changes associated with it when it comes to your lifestyle. You're already wearing underwear, you're already wearing hats, you're already wearing t-shirts, but now you can continue using technology while being protected. On the earbuds, particularly, or like the wireless headphones, we don't have a solution for that, unfortunately, except for going back to wired headsets. And that a lot of people don't want to do that. And I get it. And again, at the end of the day, I think what's really important is to realize that what matters is to be aware of the danger associated with it and to make your own choices, and as much as possible to reduce your exposure. Similar to pollution, maybe don't breathe behind a bus when it's when it's
Right.
driving by you. But does that warrant moving outside of a city and living in the countryside? For some reason, for some people it would. For other, they're fine with it. And I think everyone can make their own choices from there.
Yeah. So do you have a men's wear line and a women's wear line, or is
We
it
do.
unisex?
We have menswear, we have women's wear, we have some unisex products.
Children's, a children's line.
We do have products that have a children offering. We're still developing actually all of our product lines. We're very much at 3% of where we want to be in the next few years. So if when you're going on havenwear.com, our website, you're not finding what you want, chances are we are working on it or we're planning to work on it. But don't hesitate to send us an email with your suggestions. We read all of them and we that plays a role in prioritizing the products that we're launching. But we also have a home accessory line, which consists of EMF meters, which are devices that help you measure the amount of radiation that
Oh,
your devices or certain areas of your home or office or other living spaces have, which can help you make the right choices with regards to reducing your exposure. We have blankets, laptop pads. We have a number of products as well that are not necessarily wearable, but that can help reduce your overall exposure as long as possible.
so if you have a blanket on your bed that's protecting you and your modem is in your bedroom, that should pretty much help you out as far as being less exposed to EMF.
That would help.
Yeah.
With that being said, I would still recommend moving the modem out of your
Yeah.
bedroom if you can, because the blanket is only going to cover the organs that are underneath. We
Right.
have a lightweight beanie for sleep as well that can help with brain. But generally speaking, it's probably better to live in a place where there is no pollution than to be wearing N95 mask at all times, right? And so similar here, we're able to reduce significantly the amount of EMF that your body is facing thanks to our clothing, thanks to our blanket. But if you can reduce the number of sources that are around, that's just gonna overall be the strongest solution.
Yeah. Yeah, great advice, really it is. What are you learning from your customers? And are they coming to you with suggestions of things that they feel they need, or how are you creating these products?
Yeah, I think we're probably very unique as a brand because the North Star that we have is very much based off shielding your essential organs that matter for as long as possible during the day and night, which means that we're thinking about organs first and form factors second. And so all of our products are not built as based on fashion trends, but very much as life essentials.
Yeah,
And then we're looking at what are the form factors that people actually want to wear on a regular basis, and we go from there.
yeah,
We also recently were awarded a track by the US Air Force. So this is a completely different form factor for certain military personnel that are exposed to EMF. So depending on the customer type that we're discussing with, the form factor ends up changing, but ultimately the North Star remains. What are the organs that really matter? And we've mentioned them before. And then what are the form factor that can help alleviate as much of the exposure that those organs are under? And so I mentioned that we are very much paying attention to what our customers are saying because we're still a small company if you compare us to a Nike or Lululemon. And so we're not offering a ton of colors just yet, or we're not offering a ton of variants. And that's why we're very much listening to our customers with regards to, well, if we're going to launch colors, it's going to be one extra color, not 20. So like,
right.
which one is it that you guys want to see? And if we're going to launch a new type of t-shirt, we're not going to have 20 different cuts. So what do you prefer? And so that's where I think like we're really trying to listen to our customer base as much as possible while also not launching certain demands of our customers. We've been asked to do a cell phone case for a very long time. And the reality is cell phone cases do not work because of what we mentioned before. If it were working, it would stop the phone from
Right.
emitting and being connected. So, and it's actually even worse. It would increase your phone's emission because your phone is designed to emit more EMF when it doesn't have signal to try and find signal. And so we're not going to do a cell phone case. So ultimately, yeah, North Star is built around the protection of your organs, but we are very much paying attention to what our customers want.
Yeah. I've seen women that their hands are full and they put their cell phone in their bra as a
Yep.
way to hold. And when I see that, I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe this woman is doing that. And I mean, it's a great little handy thing to do, but it's certainly not healthy. So I'm thinking about what you could make for a woman that, she could protect herself or have something else. I mean, a small little handbag, but I see a lot of women that do that. They're carrying their cell phone in their bra.
Yeah, not something I would recommend by any means.
No.
But again, it's part of the little gestures of everyday life that are hard to change. But and so I would recommend changing that habit for sure. But in the
Absolutely.
meantime, there are many the what we're trying to do on our end is to design products centered around not having to change any of those habits. So it's going to be very hard for a woman who's used to doing that whenever they go grocery shopping to now stop putting their cell phone in their bra, even though this is very much my recommendation. So if someone's doing this, please put it on airplane mode before putting it in your bra.
Yeah.
And then I get it. You don't have any pockets, you get your hands full. I get it. Just airplane mode is the cheat code to doing all those things that you want to keep doing with regards to devices emitting radiation. It stops the device from emitting radiation, and then you can put it wherever you want on your body. You'll be just as safe as if you were wearing HAVN.
Right. Are you the only company that's doing this?
Yes, we are.
You.
So we invented Wave Stopper. It's a proprietary technology. We've got IP filed, patents filed around protecting the innovation. What I will say is that, unfortunately, for the last 20 years before we got started, there's been a lot of scams in that world, starting with cell phone stickers that claim to be blocking or purifying or harmonizing or whatever word is associated with it, the radiation from the device that the sticker is being stuck on. This is something that the FCC has been investigating as long like has been shutting down companies all the way back in the year 2000. I remember there is a press release of 2002 where they shut down 10 companies doing this, something like this. And unfortunately, if you shut one down, there are two more popping back. Oftentimes, these are companies that are not based in the US. It's very hard to regulate this. So the form factor associated with it is often stickers that you put on your cell phone, pendants that you can wear on yourself, little devices. I can't even describe them because they keep changing that you put on a table. All of these claim to either block or harmonize or create a protection bubble around you.
Mhm.
There is no scientific basis in this. Physically, there is no physical principle that is being used, even if they claim to have scientific studies, and often these are completely bogus. And so I really recommend caution to people when they're looking for a solution. Generally speaking, if this is a solution that is at the device level, if your device continues working the same way as before, that means that it's still emitting radiation and you're still subject to the biological effect of those radiation. There is no such thing as harmonizing them or purifying them or what have you.
Mhm.
And so I really recommend caution to people. And if you're listening and you're thinking, oh gosh, I did buy one of those things because they're often very expensive, reach out to the company, tell them that you believe it is a scam, and they will refund you immediately.
Wow, that's great advice. Thank you for sharing that.
It's the unfortunately that's part of the reality of new new science, and there is not a lot of regulation around it. There are standards by which you can test products, and we are tested by independent laboratories against the best standard for radiation protection, but there is no entity today that is trying to prevent companies from marketing product as anti-EMF or EMF blocking or what have you. And you don't have to respect any standard if you want to make those claims today, which is really unfortunate, and especially because it lulls people into a fake sense of safety, where you might think, well, now I've got a sticker on my phone, so I can put it under my pillow, right, and sleep with my cell phone right next to my brain. No, please don't.
No.
The sticker has nothing in it. We've actually made videos where we've bought a lot of those stickers and we cut them open, and there is nothing in there.
Oh my goodness.
So
What a
that's
scam.
so when we got started, that was very much what we had to deal with as a company is moving into a market where almost all the companies and products out there are not based on real products. And so a lot of what we've done has been making sure that we can build that credibility with our customers, certifying our products with independent, reputable laboratories with different methods. More recently, getting that contract awarded by the US Air Force is obviously a huge sign of trust, but it's a world where in the next few years, hopefully, we'll evolve towards more regulation and more safety standards. But that is very much the wild, wild west today. So I would encourage everyone to do their research and to not fall for if it's too good to be true, it's probably not true.
Yeah.
Generally.
Yeah. I'm noticing that you're wearing earbuds that are connected. They're not wireless.
Yes, super easy change that you can do. I know it's not as convenient as the wireless ones, but it is still not bad, and you can still find them on Amazon. It still exists.
Yes. Arthur, give me some final thoughts you could leave my listeners with today.
I like to end with this, which is we've talked about how EMF can impact your health and all the bad stuff that we're doing on a daily basis. And so I want to end up on this, which is I think we are living a world where we have the best lives compared to many, many generations before, and technology mostly has been very positive. There is always an element to new technologies that is not good. We invented cars. It's amazing. We can move much faster and much more easily than when we were on horses. But when it crashes, this can have a big impact, and therefore we created seatbelts. And so for many of those technologies, beware and think about the seatbelt analogy, which is what can you do in order to reduce the downside of the exposure? And so that is very much what we're trying to do with HAVN. And at the same time, there are many other areas of life where there are the seatbelt analogy that can be made. And generally, I'm a strong believer that today we're very much in control of our destiny and of living a long, healthy, happy life. And that the small choices that you make today can compound into the likelihood of staying healthy in the long term. And so the more of those small choices you make, the more likely you are to continue or to stay healthy in the future. And so I encourage everyone to think about that, which doesn't mean that you need to be a robot and need to be eating salad daily and exercising two hours a day and moving to the countryside. I think everyone can do it however much they want, but there are solutions out there, and we're incredibly fortunate to be living in this century.
That's great advice. There is one other question I want to ask you. Are your clothing lines in any stores at this point, or is it just online on your website?
We're online only. We're still thinking through our retail strategy, mostly because we need explanation around the products. If you're just going to pick up one of our t-shirts or one of our hats
Yeah.
without the explanation around it as to what it does and how it works and all of this, it's a little hard. So for for now, we're only online at havenwear.com, HAVNWEAR.com. But who knows? It might change in the future.
Maybe you'll open up your own store
We might.
strictly for your products.
We might. We still have a lot of work to do to get to that level of the bigger brands that I mentioned before, but we're very much working on it.
I see you moving in that direction, honestly, because computers and technology is only going to get bigger. It's not going away.
Absolutely.
And there's a lot of health conscious people out there that are concerned about EMFs, also for their young children. I was exposed to it from my 30s, let's say, but for young children today, it will be their whole entire life that they're exposed to EMFs. So, yeah, I could see this going in that kind of a direction. And I just want to thank you for being here with me today and bringing this to my audience's attention. And I wish you the best of luck in the future with this company.
Thank you, Susan, and thank you everyone for tuning in. Hopefully, you were able to learn a thing or two from that conversation. And if you have any questions don't hesitate to reach out, and you can find us on at HAVN on most social networks, and don't hesitate to send us a DM with your question. We'll be happy to help shed some light on EMF, and we've got really good resources on the website as well when it comes to learning and education on our science page. So don't hesitate to check it out there. And Susan, I'm really grateful for the opportunity to come on the show and shed some light on the EMF topic.
I'm thankful that you came on. And I will put all of your contact information in the show notes of the podcast as well. So
Amazing.
you'll be able to find it on there. Arthur, I wish you the best of luck. It was a pleasure speaking with you today, and I'd love to have you come back again, and maybe you'll be offering some different products that will also be worth talking about. So thank you again, and the best of luck to you.
Thank you, Susan. I would love to.
Yes. Thank you all for coming on today and listening to this wonderful episode. If this resonated with you in any way, please leave me a comment and also share it out with your friends and your family and let them know and be aware of this important topic. I appreciate each and every one of you. Please be sure to leave me a comment. And if you're not currently subscribed to this channel, please subscribe. This way you'll know when the next episode comes out and you could jump on and get some more wonderful information about ways that we can stay happy, healthy, and live a long, productive life. Thank you again.